I find it quite ironic that on a day that we are talking about news, we had breaking news this morning from Disney World. And of all people, Derek was the first person that I actually heard this news from. I got a text message from Derek. So, Derek, I'm going to let you just start the show with this exciting news that I know you're thrilled about.
Yeah. So I was combing the internet as the kids do these days, and I saw this story pop up on one of these strange Disney Facebook groups and popped up, and it said that there is now no more virtual queue for Guardians of the Galaxy or Tiana's Princess Party Splash Ride. That's it. No more. It's going away. It's going away. So at the end of the month, I think it's February 25th. Correct me if I'm wrong, which I'm sure.
By the time this show goes up, it'll be past that.
There you go. So now for all those families that enjoyed staring and standing in line and looking at the person and smelling them in front of you, your wish has come true. You will be able to do that for hours and hours once more. Right? So kudos.
That's breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, from Derek DeBoer.
I feel like Ron Burgundy.
Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the DVC Show. I'm your host, Paul Krieger, joined as always by my lovely wife, Amy Krieger.
Hello.
We've got John Sakari, aka Big Fat Panda, in the house.
Welcome home, everyone.
We've got the one, the only, Jeff Haslam.
I'm never next. How are you?
You are next now, because I never know what I get when I go to this guy, Senior Sales Associate for the DVC Resale Market, Derek DeBoer.
Hey now.
I just like throwing you guys for a loop so you just don't know what's next and what's going to happen. So how are you guys this week? You all out in the internet world think that we do this weekly, but we do this once every 3 weeks. So we do see each other occasionally. The last time I saw Derek was at his house, which that was lovely. But yeah, putting us all together, it's kind of just catching up. How you doing? How's your week?
Good.
Great. Yeah. I just
Came
did
back
5
from-
days in a row in the parks, so I'm exhausted.
Ooh.
Came back from Disney with a little bit of the ick. Not bad, but still getting over whatever I got in my nose, but I'm getting better. Hence the red nose.
Yeah, but
Jeff.
you had
go ahead,
such a good trip. I was so happy when Panda was keeping us all like up to date on his trip with family, and it's like, this is why this dude's a member. Like, you could tell that he was loving it, not for himself, but it truly
wasn't.
It through his family was just super cool.
I'm actually getting to that age where I'm getting the grandfather vibes of watching, nieces and nephews. I feel like their grandfather, watching them have fun. And when they were passed out on the bed, I had such pride that, and they're like, thanks, Uncle John, for giving us this great room. Yeah, that's DVC.
And I see that as, I think that's great that you got that grandfatherly way about you, but I also see the grandfatherly way about you, like you sitting on your porch and chasing the kids off with like a cane.
Listen, I created a little video game called Get Off My Lawn. It is totally me. Yeah.
Oh my God. Panda, you taught your niece too at the resort. You taught her that it was Old Key Jeff's resort. Is that correct?
Yes. The kids look at me like they don't understand what I'm saying. But
the video you sent, though, was amazing because she timed it perfectly. She was like, oh, wow. It was
great.
It was absolutely amazing. Speaking of Old Key Jeff Resort, and speaking of this crew being together, we are excited tonight to announce our dates for some meetup events for this DVC fan community. I know a lot of you have been waiting for us to release these, and we just wanted to make sure that we could nail down the details and everything. So first off, we are bringing back DVC Summerfest for another weekend this year. And this year, we wanted to make sure we were prepared for death, swampiness, wild animal battles with a cozy twist, if I could quote Panda for a moment. And so we are going to be seeing everyone August 8th through the 10th.
Have the anti-venom ready.
August 8th through the 10th of this year, we are going to be at the cabins at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort for DVC Fan Summerfest. And no details on specific events just yet. We do plan to kind of include some events that are not specifically at the cabins, because we do know that maybe not everyone will be able to book a room there. But we did want to let you know so that hopefully you can find a room somewhere on property, or if you're a local in the area, you can plan to join us for those dates for DVC Summerfest. Also, adding to our docket this year is something that I was excited about just because of how the dates lined up. But we are bringing you DVC Fan Oktoberfest as well. October 17th through the 19th at Old Key Jeff Resort. And I'd just like to point out that if you kind of just go down from the D on DVC Fan, you'll see that Jeff Haslam's already on the deck dancing there in the background of the picture. He is ready for this party at his home resort, and he is excited. So October 17th through the 19th, this is when everyone's going to be at Disney World for food and wine for the holiday season and everything. And Jeff, yes, I threw that together in about 5 minutes. I always have that photo.
Hysterical. I kind of feel like I'm going to need a costume for that one, like a top hat with a monocle and a sash that says like mayor.
The Monopoly guy.
We can come up with.
Well, you already said we were going to go to the beer garden at Epcot. So
I've never been there, so it seems fitting.
That seems fitting for Oktoberfest. So we will have some fun. Again, more details of what is going to be happening over the course of those weekends to come. But we wanted to give you these dates. That October 17th through the 19th event is still within that 7 to 11 home resort booking window. So book your rooms now, and we will come to you with some more details as we get closer. But we're excited to kind of have some more meet and greet opportunities with you, our amazing DVC fan community. So.
Yes,
Derek,
thank you.
Aren't you running the golf cart obstacle course?
Yes, I'll be renting the golf carts. I'll be renting the horses. I'll be renting the potato sacks that you have to take to get to the trailer to come hang out with Panda. So yeah, you'll have tons of options. And the fact that only for this show, because I love our audience so much, are you actually going to get me at a trailer? So this is very
Notice he did not say in, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to make us film the show from the porch of the trailer just because he wants to be able to.
Well, that's where the bugs in the swamp is, so you better come inside.
The bog.
I cannot wait to see what Derek thinks. I think you're going to be surprised.
Yeah.
Remember Wind and Waves.
That's right.
Hey, remember Wind and Waves. Remember Cake Bake. So I have been pleasantly surprised in the past. I just hope that it maybe doesn't live up to all the swampiness that Panda sold it last week. I just hope that maybe that's dimmed down just a little bit. But no, I think it'll be awesome.
Not in August. In August, it's even worse.
All right. I'll see you at Oktoberfest, everybody. See you later.
This and all of our DVC fan content, including our Summerfest and on our Oktoberfest weekends, would not be possible without our sponsors at the world of DVC. DVC Resale Market, if you're looking to buy or sell a Disney Vacation Club contract. Monera Financial, if you're looking to finance that DVC resale contract purchase, and the DVC rental store, where you can try before you buy, rent some points, or get some extra cash in your pocket and rent out some unused points this year. So please show some love for our sponsors.
Unused points? Unused points? What is that?
Yeah, right. While we're on that, my goal is to hopefully have, maybe it's Jeff with like his cricket machine, but someone on one of these shows a couple of weeks ago put up the best comment that we all said we need to make DVC show t-shirts, where I think it said making Mondays tolerable since a certain amount of time, or like making Mondays okay, or something like that. I want to have that shirt for that event coming up this summer, because I can't remember the exact idea. But it was so good.
We definitely on the horizon have plans to kind of revamp our merch. There's a lot of exciting things coming for DVC Fan that hopefully we'll be able to roll out by the time those events happen. So really excited about that. And yes, our merch line is kind of primary, because we actually saw someone at the resorts, I think it was at the Animal Kingdom Moonlight Magic, and they were wearing our Add-on Itis t-shirt, and they said they get compliments out the wazoo with that thing. And
That's great.
we need to just kind of expand our merch line.
Yeah. Speaking of merchandise, this is just a quick news item. Jeff Haslam is wearing his first Spirit jersey. Very nice.
I went 47 years without a Spirit jersey, and that streak ended last night. So finally found one that speaks my name.
It's a dangerous hobby to get into. And then Paul bought me my first Roosevelt for Valentine's Day.
Great.
It is the Monsters Inc. door hoodie. I gotta tell you, this is like wearing butter. It is so smooth.
That's literally like second skin for Panda and I for like the last couple of years. It's the greatest thing you'll ever put on your body.
I've never worn butter.
Oh, it's
I don't know what butter feels like.
Okay.
Wait till
Silky smooth.
Odd descriptor, but
listen, I need Roosevelts to contact me. I would peddle these things on the street if they would give me some for free.
yeah.
I know. We're plugging all these shirts from all these places that don't sponsor us. So not brought to you.
Mine's
by
from
Roosevelt.
Amazon, in case anyone was wondering.
Amy will be homeless under a train station eating, Red Baron and wearing Roosevelts.
One of these days we'll get a sponsor.
Good food and comfy shirts.
And clothing. Yeah, good food and comfy clothes.
Did you guys ever see the original Wayne's World movie when they have to do the sponsored highlight?
Oh, yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, we need to do something like that if we ever get a sponsor. We'll just like throw it everywhere around us.
We are here technically to not talk about anything Disney Vacation Club this week, but apparently we must get to business, which is news. We've not actually done a news update for quite some time, and I thought it was about time to kind of come back around and talk about some of the things that have happened in the Disney Vacation Club space over the past few months, past few weeks, technically, is when kind of the most recent news has come out. And I think the one that we kind of knew was coming for some resorts and we didn't know was coming for others was a price increase. And this is a standard price increase that happens normally around the first of the year. A lot of the current Disney Vacation Club properties get a little bump in price, but we also saw this year some of the sold out resorts also see an increase in pricing. So to recap those prices real quick, the current selling properties, the current Disney Vacation Club properties that are kind of actively live selling. So the Island Tower at Disney's Polynesian Villas and Bungalows increased by $10 per point. Riviera Resort also increased by $10 per point, as did the cabins at Fort Wilderness and Aulani out in Hawaii. Those are all now at a new direct price per point of $235. And the villas at Disneyland Hotel for some reason only went up $6 per point. Who said not 5, not 10, 6 is that was a meeting that happened 20 times, but that is now jumped up to $245 per point. So it is just shy of that $250 threshold that I think we've all been kind of waiting for some time with.
Yeah, and that surprises me because I still think they're battling against the optics of the transient tax there. So maybe that's why I just went for 6 and not the full 10.
$550.
And can I ask the dumb question that I'm hoping a few people want to ask, and I'm going to be the one to ask? So if you're thinking about asking out there, let me know if this question was one you'd ask. Sold out resort. How can you raise a price on something that's sold out if you're not selling it?
They always have
That is a good question. That when we do get that question quite often, we got it several times with this article. So when we speak of sold out properties, we talk about resorts that essentially were newer resorts at one time. So think the Grand Floridian. At one point it was a new resort and they were actively selling this property. Once they go through all of those points, they basically have to hold on to 2% by Florida law to basically have in rotation of their points. But occasionally they will get points back from a variety of manners, whether it's ROFR, whether it's, people that don't pay their mortgages and they pull back those points themselves. So they do have points that float back into their system, and there's basically a wait list for every single sold out resort, and you can contact Disney and sort of say, hey, do you have any points available for this resort? And if the answer is yes, and you want to pay a bonkers price for those, then you certainly can purchase them direct. Amy and I are proof in the pudding of that one. We actually bought 50 boardwalk points this way previously.
Animal Kingdom too.
Animal Kingdom too, yeah. So both of those were sold out at the time that we actually bought our kind of smaller add-on contracts direct, and that the first Animal Kingdom contract was so that we could get direct benefits. The boardwalk was just because we were impatient.
That also brings me to just an interesting little tidbit, and that is that we had issues buying direct for Animal Kingdom remotely from home because we lived in West Virginia at the time. And I actually had someone who I talked to at Monera yesterday that said, I live in Colorado. Am I going to be okay buying a resale contract? And I had to kind of explain to them how, that's more Disney because they're the developer. And so they have certain states that they don't, for West Virginia, they were just not paying the per unit fee to sell timeshares there. But that does not affect resale. And I saw Derek shaking his head. Basically, you can live all over the place, right? And buy resale.
You can live all over the world. Which is why, that's why a lot of people will say, oh, I was told when I was at Disney World and I looked into Disney Vacation Club that, I'm on vacation. And if you want to buy this because you live, let's say, overseas, or let's say you live in Canada, blah, 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 that you have to buy while you're here on vacation. And I'm like, listen, they weren't trying to give you like a high pressure spiel. Legit. You have to, like Amy said, because they're the developers. So they're the ones that are building it. They're the ones that are doing all that. So when there are certain places that, especially if you're from outside the continental, outside the US, it's big for us to be able to sell to you anywhere you live around the world is a huge benefit of being able to buy, resale, just because we've updated it. So if you haven't seen, go to our website, go to, dvcresalemarket.com, go under, I think it's under the buying tab that's up there. And then there's on the left-hand side, it says economics, DVC, resale versus direct. Just click on that and go through and you see these differences. And I was wondering, I was like, God, I hope our web team updated these numbers because it just makes it even more impressive about why people choose to go the resale market route. I mean, you're looking at, again, Animal Kingdom, right? Our average resale price in January was like 110. You could buy Animal Kingdom from Disney. Again, it falls into that quote unquote sold out category. It's $215 per point. That's $105 difference a point. There ain't no perks, there ain't no bells or whistles tied into that whatsoever. So you're looking at some of these resorts, 45%, 40%. Aulani is now 60% difference. Our average price is $95 to buy from Disney right now. Like Paul said, it's $235. Bay Lake Tower, direct from Disney. Bay Lake Tower, and there's a ton of members that add on Bay Lake Tower points with us all the time, because they ain't paying Disney prices, which is $275.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Per point to buy Bay Lake Tower. And it's funny because it made me think of when Paul started this whole conversation about the prices going up. I remember being a direct guide. I think it was 2008, 2009. And the price per point was going up to be like $100. And I remember thinking and talking to my fellow guides at the time, and we're thinking, my God, you think people are still going to buy this when it's like $100 a point? And we're like, literally talking out loud. We're like, I don't know. We better have good promos because, my God, $100 direct per vacation club point. Now there's stuff that they're selling for $250, $275 per point. So yeah that's crazy.
Since
talk.
We bought Animal Kingdom direct, it has gone up $45 per point. So that's $4,500 extra dollars for 100 points.
That's
well, I remember for the longest time, and even this show before I joined this motley crew, I remember there was one show in particular because I kind of went back into the archive. I drive all the time in the car, so I've always got something on podcast-wise in the car. But there was an episode that you guys were all talking about that Grand Cal was the only one at $300 a point, and that's just not going to stay that way for much longer. Like, there's a lot of things starting to bump up against that crazy price.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I just sold one of my contracts and paid my dues this month. And as much as I missed those points, man, that dues bill was really nice.
Well, you speak of Grand Californian, and so Grand Californian also, resale market, like you said, is actually dipping below $200 per point right now in the resale market. But this is the mind-boggling thing here is that when we talk, and Panda kind of coming full circle and answering your question, we talk about the direct selling properties, so the current selling properties like the Polynesian Riviera, 235, 245 per point, before any incentives bring that price per point down. Anything sold out is going to be well above that. And what's comical is that we talk about Grand Californian. You cannot buy Grand Californian direct. They don't have any points. There is a wait list that you can't even join as of this time. A lot of people were talking about that. But current pricing for the Grand Californian, it was $310. They can't even sell it, but they said, let's bump it up to $330. So $330 per point will get you some points that you can't buy at the Grand Californian.
We saw our first Grand Cal row for what? Was it last month or the month before?
Yes. Yeah.
Why? They need to take more back so they can fulfill them.
Sell them?
But they're they're just expensive. But
you have to mention that story, Paul, which is so perfect because the Grand Cal is the perfect example. When I was on the cruise ships and you're meeting all these families, and a lot of them didn't want to add on whatever was the new resort. They were like, hey, we own Old Key West, or we own the Boardwalk, or in that case, we own the Grand Cal. So they book an appointment, come down and sit with you, and they'd say, listen, we want 400 Grand Cal points, or we want 100, or we want this, and you'd have to put them on what's called a wait list. And you basically say, all right, we're going to get in touch with you, because Disney would then contact you if and when those points became available. Most of the time, it might be like in the case of like an Old Key West, like maybe a couple days or maybe like a week, blah, blah, blah. I literally had people on the Grand Cal wait list for 5, 6, 7 years and never got called. And one time I did remember, and it was years later, I called them up. I'm like, I don't know if you remember, but you were interested in 300 Grand Cal points. And they're like, oh, I don't have that money anymore. I already spent it. It's been like 4 years since I said I was going to buy those points. So it's a classic story of people that, again, have stayed at the Grand Cal. They know how hard it is to get in, so they want to get those points. So if you're one of those people, don't even bother going direct with Disney. Just reach out to me. I got them.
He's got them. I can confirm that we've got them from Derek.
Yeah, his number's blocked on your phone now.
We have the points.
Paired with these price increases, Disney decided to roll out some direct sales incentives also for kind of what we're calling late winter and early spring. And nothing earth-shattering came through with these incentives this round. On the whole, most of them were negated by the fact that the prices increased for every resort and whatever those were. But, you can save anywhere from, I would say, like $8 to $30 per point. You can head to dvcfan.com to see our full breakdown of all of those. But Disneyland Hotel probably had the strongest incentives this cycle. Riviera Resort, the price increase kind of hurt its value a little bit, but the incentives kind of remain strong. On the whole, all of these resorts, the price is higher today than it was yesterday. And that gets me to kind of the broader topic that I wanted to kind of throw around the room here with this discussion is we recently saw the Wall Street Journal came out with an article that basically was titled, "Even Disney is Worried About the High Cost of a Disney Vacation." And I think everyone probably saw that over the past week or so. Disney actually was so upset over that article that they actually put out their own kind of rebuttal to it and basically announced all of the exciting things that they have coming in 2025 and the things that they've done for guests, not really addressing the fact that prices have not come down. Maybe they're giving this or that for free to add value, but it doesn't change necessarily the price of the vacation. But I just wanted to get everyone's idea. What do you think is Disney's thought process in continuing to increase these prices, or Disney Vacation Club specifically, in what's their goal in just continuing to bump up these direct prices to levels that I think continue to hurt their sales?
Yeah, I don't know. It's almost counterintuitive because what you're saying is true, Paul, that they're selling 5-6 properties right now at a time. I've lost count at this point about how many they're actively selling, but the prices are going up. There's another one being built. I was over there just the other day. It's starting to go vertical. I don't know if they just don't care because they aren't having trouble renting these for cash or what, but I look at it from a parks point of view, and I was there, like I said, 5 days in a row this week with some friends from out of town. She bought her 3-day park hopper, and she told me how much it was. And you sort of forget, like, we're in this kind of DVC space. We all have annual passes. I can't remember the last time I shopped for day tickets, but $600 and something for a 3-day hopper. And the parks aren't hurting for people. You know, it was madness on Monday, you know, President's Day at Magic Kingdom. There's people everywhere. They're not having, until people stop going, until they say enough's enough, Disney has no plans to change their strategy. That's the way I see it. And they can talk about all they want to. They're adding this, they're adding that. They've taken away a lot too for free when you talk about what fast passes used to be and early magic hours and extra magic hours. Now you can only stay late if you're at the deluxe resorts and some of these things that just kind of get slipped under the radar a little bit. They've taken away way more than they've given us and just continually raise the price.
Yeah.
I don't think I've asked you personally this question, but you know, if you think back, if we were not here in Florida and kind of more in the bubble, if we were back in West Virginia and still coming down here, you know, 3, 4, 5 times a year like we were the couple years before we moved, do you think that these price increases would have maybe affected like our travel plans and how often we would have maybe gone to Disney?
Yeah, especially when you look at, you know, obviously we love Disney, and if you're a DVC member, an annual pass holder, you love going to Disney. But eventually, especially when you've been there so many times, like the most loyal people are, you're going to start looking at value and what else can I get for a couple $1,000s? And that might be a cruise. You know, it might be a cruise on another cruise line that's not Disney. It might be an all-inclusive vacation, like a Sandals resort or something. So I think that, you know, the more the price starts pushing, I think for us, especially if we were in that same situation, you know, we would have had to pay for transportation. Now you have to pay for airfare. We have to pay for, you know, the Magic Express doesn't exist. So we have to pay either for like an Uber or a bus to get to property. So I think a lot of those little things adding up are going, and then you've got Lightning Lane, you know, that's now extra. That wasn't extra when we started coming down, you know, traveling down here as non-residents. And so I think that would push us to other types of travel.
Yeah, it would definitely be hard to justify, you know, the quantity of trips I think that we were taking every single year.
Right.
And
then you go, oh, well, for a couple $1,000s, I could also go on a cruise that includes my food and my hotel and my transportation to all these places. You know what I mean?
And it's the compounding effect too on, you know, adding on the choice to add on points. And so you question the things that are, you know, depressing maybe direct sales a little bit. That's another one. The more the ticket prices go up, the more people don't have that expendable income to perhaps use towards another add-on purchase, whether it be direct or resale. So all of those things cumulatively kind of affect things. Panda, you know, you live and breathe Disney. You know, what's your thought on all this?
Jeff really summed up my feelings very well. He's, you know, we look at the prices, we think it's crazy, and then we see all the people there and we can't figure out, they don't seem to be hurting at all. I don't think there's a secret that Disney's trying to get more with less. I think they actively want to price some people out because they know the biggest complaints are crowds and they want to have better guest satisfaction with less people and make more money with less people. So far, that strategy has been working for them, but there is a ceiling and they might be hitting it where people are not returning in the droves that they need.
Well, just to chime in again, but to kind of put it in perspective, the people that we were hanging out with this week, you know, they aren't frequent Disney people. They're more frequent to Disneyland, but one of them, it was their very first trip here ever. And I love to get a hold of those people and kind of pick their brain because I want to know what I don't know. We live and breathe this stuff. This is part of our world, and we love it for a reason. But these people that 35 years old, first time ever to Walt Disney World, I want to know things, right? And
would you come back?
Yeah, and that was the first question I asked. I'm like, "Did you have a good time?" They said, "We've had an absolute great time. It's massive. It's busy. I need a vacation for my vacation." All the things that we know from the good old days, right? But they said this is not their jam. Mm-hmm. And Paul, you kind of hit it on their head. They said that we had a great time with the family, but for the cost that they spent, for this 5 days, and there was some other stuff. They were here for a dance convention, so there's some other costs baked into their vacation. But they're like, I can take my family to Europe. I can take my family to Hawaii. I can take my family to on a cruise for significantly less money. And I just did some research because I knew we were going to talk about this today. I think it was AAA says the average family vacation budget for 2025 is like $4,800. You can't do Disney with 4 people for that price. You can't even come close.
So listen, the bigger problem, I'm going to tell you, my obsessive fandom came because my dad took us when I was like 5 years old. That definitely did something to me. Had that trip not occurred, Disney would not be making the thousands they make upon my lifetime being an obsessive fan. With less trips like that happening, are they having short-term profits kill long-term profits that are needed? I don't know.
Excellent. That's an excellent point, especially because I look at it's slow. The progress is slow. The change is slow. But those of us that have been in love with Disney because of those trips that are attached to things like Amy's attached to the Country Bears and I'm attached to Haunted Mansion. The younger crowd doesn't care. I asked one of the kids that were with this group, we're talking 15, 16-year-old, what was your favorite ride? Oh, it was Guardians. It was so fast. Had nothing to do with the nostalgia that we all hold dear. So
without that emotional connection.
Erode, and this younger crew probably isn't going to have the attachment to those rides. They're not going to chain themselves to Splash Mountain like I wanted to when I heard that there was going to be a change. They're going to be, great, whatever's next, we don't care. We only come once every 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Jeff, I mean, you've got a 18, 19-year-old in the house, and, they're not going to Disney. Granted, they're local, but they're not going to Disney. They're going to Universal most nights, right?
Yeah, we kind of told her that we would pay for one of her passes, or split it with her.
They did the same thing.
She chose Universal. She says, now granted, she worked at Disney for 6 months, so she was kind of, Disney weary a little bit. But I've asked her a couple of different times, Tatum, do you want to come to Disney with us? She was invited to Moonlight Magic on Wednesday with an extra ticket. She didn't want to go. She wanted to stay home.
Yeah.
But she's been at Universal 3 times this month.
Yep.
And Derek, your boys are kind of the same?
Yeah. I mean, one's off to college, but when he was here, that's the pass that I want, is I want Universal, because that's where my friends, my other one's 16, sophomore year in high school. You throw in Horror Nights, you throw in the fact of just, you got 2 different parks, you got like City Walk, so there's not multiple buses, or you don't have to say, I can only do one park today and I don't want to have to do anything else. Like, that's for that age. All they care about is the thrill rides, and that's
wait, Epic Universe.
Yes.
Just going to make it.
So you throw that into the mix, and I'm listening to everyone talk and listening to everyone make such amazing points, because all of us doing this, like Jeff said, we eat this, we breathe this, we, look for the biggest news here and there. But Disney and Disney Vacation Club won't be able to, it'll always quote unquote survive, but it's not going to flourish until you have these families, like Jeff said, that they're already missing, is that sense of, oh my God, I can't wait to come back. Or this was my favorite thing. Mom and Dad, my favorite thing was this. I can't wait to go back. I grew up going on this ride and that ride. I just don't see that happening. And that's the crux of Disney Vacation Club, is the fact of, you had an amazing time. And the best part about this club, guys, is 2 things. You're going to save a ton of money, right? Because we know that we're expensive. So if you're going to do Disney, this is the way to do it and save a ton of money. But you're able to come back time and time and time again, because we all know you're all going to want to come back, right? Come back and see us next year. This is what you want to see us. But it's too dang expensive, and it's never going to go down in cost with all these construction and all the quote unquote new rides and everything else coming, which is fantastic. But it's not like that price of that park hopper ticket. Like, my God, when I see what the prices are, every time I walk into a park with my annual pass, I look on that board and it says, 1 day park ticket. And I look and I go, I cannot even believe it. Like, how do families do this? Like, and it never goes down in price. And I'm sorry, sometimes the value isn't necessarily like, wow, that was the best meal we've ever had. Or, you know what, I don't mind paying a little bit more because the food is fantastic. I get tired of when people tell me, and I do the same thing. Like, you know what, we ate at blah, blah, blah. You know what? Wasn't bad. Wasn't that bad. Like, that should not be your benchmark when you're spending hundreds of dollars eating. Is not bad. Not bad at all. Like, no, that's what you gotta
you're 100% right.
Yeah, right.
Lowered expectations.
Yeah, some of the commentary that I read for this article, I also thought it was interesting, and I go back to kind of comments that all of you have made in some regard, which is that I do think that Disney is targeting towards maybe an upper class customer, but also they're making moves in certain areas that are doing that. And I think Disney Vacation Club is one of those areas. Someone's commentary on this article that was in the Wall Street Journal basically pointed out the fact that actually rack rate hotel pricing for Disney has not increased over the course of the past 3 to 4 years. Maybe on the surface it looks like it has, but because of really aggressive discounts, free dining, all those types of things, that rack rate hotel price has actually not increased. What has increased, though, has been ticket prices. What has increased has been Disney Vacation Club, food, the add-ons, all of those type of things that really affect the vacation, which I think are really targeted towards those other people. And I think it, for me, just questions how much they are leveraging DVC for the occupancy of these hotels anymore.
Yeah, that's a valid point, and it kind of goes back to the people that I was with this week. It was such a weird collection of folks, and I love all of them dearly, but it's just very different, demographics. One loved Disney; they didn't ever want to leave the parks. They lived and breathed it. Honest to God, one left the park they didn't do any parks on Sunday. They took their kids to Gatorland, and so I've jokingly Paul and I have talked about this in private about how long is it going to be before DVC fan has to start doing, we do a little bit of Universal stuff here and there, but are we going to have to start covering SeaWorld and Gatorland and Legoland and all this other stuff because people just can't afford to come to the parks anymore? Like, it just blows my mind. But yeah, they spent a full day at Gatorland for $35, where a full day at Animal Kingdom that you can't even spend a full day at costs you $160.
Yeah,
Derek loves Gatorland.
I do. And I think most importantly, I think Panda got super excited because he thought hot and sweaty, swampy area.
I went to Gatorland once. I loved it, actually.
But Jeff made a great point. And I think what the perception is, and I do agree, is when was the last time that Disney came out with something, right, that truly was, quote unquote, free? And when they took something away, when did they give you a good reason why it went away? And the reason I say this is because of, say, for example, Magical Express. Everyone loved it. On paper, it seemed like an absolute no-brainer. My God, you're at a Disney bus. You're captive from the moment you get off. It takes you right there. Guests loved it because it was include, right? So it seemed like a win-win all around. Then they got rid of it. And I'd yet to ever read something to where it wasn't the usual nonsense, which is insert whatever it is. We listened to our guests, and what our guests told us was they wanted more transportation options. No, they didn't. They didn't. They literally had a way to get to where they wanted to go. But if a family wanted to use Magical Express and start off their vacation in that bubble, this service that you provided for free, because they chose to say it was an added benefit of staying at a Disney resort hotel. Throw in the early mornings, no matter which resort you stayed in. Throw in the late nights, all of that stuff. Then you throw in fast passes. Like when they got rid of it, there was nothing wrong with the old fast pass system. There was nothing wrong. Don't tell me that you listened to our guests and our guests told us that they wanted more choices. They didn't want to plan rides 90 days out or whatever it was. No, it wasn't. You looked at how many people were coming to the parks and you said, how could we have a service where people that used to be free, now you got to pay for it. So just be honest and tell us why you're making some of the decisions. Just say it's a financial reason versus what guests are telling you, because I don't know anyone that is saying these things.
Well, that's a good point, because anytime we look at our Facebook stuff, we'll put a poll out there. We'll put whatever discussion starts on DVC or on our DVC fan Facebook page. There are equal number of people that agree with it and disagree with everything. So it definitely wasn't this coming together of the minds, this meeting of the minds of guests saying, I really just want to pay for my trip from the airport to Orlando, to Disney World. That's just something I haven't done that I just feel really strongly about. I want to lay out another $100 for my family for nothing, and lug my own luggage. And, I don't know. Derek, you're actually absolutely right, because there was on YouTube, and I'll have to see if I can find it and send it to you guys. But there was a commercial that I found on YouTube from 94, 95.
Was Panda in it?
He was not. There was no Trapper Keepers. There's no things like that. But it was how great this Disney World vacation could be. Their typical commercial that hits you in the feels, and literally everything
is gone. Yeah.
Is gone. Every single thing.
Yep.
And here we are spending it. I bought 2 shirts this week.
What gets me too is Disney still, instead of concentrating on what they're building, they're having conversations about what to remove from the Haunted Mansion because it might offend someone. And then down the block, you've got Dark Universe, where the vampire audio animatronic can't wait to rip your juggler out. That's the excitement that the young kids are going to go see. They don't care about you removing something that might feel silly to people. I just wish that they would start listening to their guests again. I don't feel that they have in a while.
You just gonna laugh?
Yeah.
You don't have anything else?
I got nothing.
Oh, okay.
I think we have to rename the name of this show to, where we're going to cover a bunch of different news topics. I think we made it through one. Yeah. That's it.
That was a heated one. I just like listening to you guys.
Well, of all the news that has happened recently, that's really the most exciting thing to talk about. Everything else is kind of a throwaway that's on this list, so I can probably blow through it in 5 to 10 minutes.
And so you and I, and just one other thing just about pricing, you and I have family members that come and visit us in Florida a couple times a year, his mom, my mom, sometimes my sister. And the first couple years we lived here, we were taking them to Disney. We were going to, the Christmas party and the Halloween party, and took your mom to Epcot during Christmas and see took my mom to Epcot during the Flower and Garden Festival. And we're kind of not even, this year, they probably won't go to Disney at all. And
we asked them.
Yeah, they don't want to.
We asked them, do you want to go? Here's the cost of a 1-day ticket. And they're like, no, I'd rather go to the beach for a day.
No, my mom wants to go to St. Augustine, and she wants to go to a baseball game. And what did we do with your mom when she was here last?
We went to Vero Beach.
Oh, we did go to Vero Beach, yeah.
But still, they didn't need a ticket to get in there, just needed a couple points that we had laying around.
So we even see it, kind of in our little family bubble, and they're not Disney people, but they loved coming to Disney when we did. So
and Jeff, you said it exactly right, which is that we are getting more and more feedback from people within our community that basically are saying, hey, I love Disney Vacation Club. I love staying in these resorts. I love waking up to the music in the lobby and just that Disney feeling about it. But I can't pay to go into the parks. And so what other things are happening around Orlando that I can do? Or what other things can I easily get to make this, a more affordable vacation for my family? Because to your point, I would argue if you own Disney Vacation Club and had points, could you still get under that budget that you quoted for a family of 4 by just buying tickets and food? You probably would be over that average budget.
Well, my friend just did 3 days. It cost her $645. So times that by a family of 4, and you're at almost $3,000 just right there without food, without anything else. Where I'm sorry, but you can do a lot of things in Orlando. I've kind of been exploring. I've been a tourist in my own city lately, and there's a lot to do here that people overlook.
Yes.
You know, not just theme parks. Yes, there's Legoland. Yes, there's Universal. Yes, there's SeaWorld. Busch Gardens out in Tampa. Gatorland, if that's your jam. I got to go and check this place out. But there's a place around the corner from my house that's like the zip line thing that you do on a cruise ship through the canopy of trees, and it's like $25. You know, there's escape rooms. There's the biggest McDonald's in the world. There's all kinds of stuff here in Orlando to do that aren't Disney park centric that your DVC membership can still give you access to, because you've got the room. Go exploring.
You can come. You can come and drink with me at a brewery right down the street and use. I think it's 3 points a night to sleep in my house. So it's not a bad thing.
3 points.
And if you've never done a brewery with Derek, I highly suggest that you do. And I'm not. There may be video, but we'll save that for Patreon.
So 2 quick smaller announcements to kind of wrap us up here. The first, which I think kind of pairs a little bit with this conversation. You know, I mentioned earlier, I think that Disney is doubling down on DVC and they're making a lot of money off of DVC. And we saw over the course of the past month over 3 announcements that were related to new exchange opportunities for your points. The first that was announced that I didn't even write down here was an ABD exclusive to Northern Italy, I think it was. Italy or France?
France.
Was it France?
It was all France.
It was an ABD exclusive adventure. It was a first wave adventure that people could use their points for. It was for Northern France. I didn't even write it down because the prices were so bonkers. I think it was around 1,000 points a person for this exclusive adventure.
Well, first of all, it's a river cruise, so it's not like a typical cruise ship. So the ship is, you know, a lot smaller. It's just a couple decks tall, and there's not like a whole lot of activities on it. Like it's mostly like older people that want to go and see the world. But with that said, like these rooms, they're very small. They're like older, and I think if you were paying cash, which you had to pay points, right, for at least one person, or did they suspend that?
They did suspend it.
Okay, if you were paying cash for just the inside like crap room, it was over $6,000 a person. So we're talking almost $13,000. Those are so expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that came out. They also announced that you can now use your points at other Disneyland Paris hotels. Previously, you could only use it at several different Disneyland Paris hotels, but now you can use your points at multiple others. And I did the math real quick, just kind of basing these two, and it was like 392 points would get you 4 nights at the new Art of Marvel New York hotel at Disneyland Paris. And if you took and got some money and rented like 209 points, you could get more than enough money to pay for that and also get your tickets and everything else.
Because aren't your tickets included when you pay cash for a room?
When you do a cash
But
package.
when you do a DVC, when you pay points, your
No tickets.
tickets are not included.
And the thing that I took away from all of these kind of opportunities is that they are trying to get points back from you because they're making so much money off of them. I think it was my pure takeaway on all of this.
Oh yeah, that's why they're doing all these first wave sailings of it used to just be, it started with a new ship, like a new DCL ship, and then it was like, okay, well now we've got a new island, so let's do a first wave for that. And now it's like, oh, we've got a new itinerary for ABD, let's do a first wave for that. So it's just any chance that they have to have, it's a new something.
Well, and in the DVC fan Facebook group recently, people were kind of getting up in arms about people renting points and things like that. And I think the big thing that you've got to understand is that Disney Vacation Club is the biggest renter of points on the planet. You
should have put that graphic up.
I don't have the graphic handy, but they put up a graphic at the end of last year just kind of talking about the things that they were proud of. And they said that it was like over 3 million points were exchanged for adventures. I work at the DVC rental store. I can tell you we ain't renting close to that number of points. And what do you think they're doing with that 3 million points? They are renting every single one of them.
It's their cash inventory.
That is cash inventory. They are making buku bucks off of that. So this is a very, very lucrative way that they get people to use their points.
No, yeah, and it's what you have to think about is like, wow, because what a vacation guide, when you're learning about what Disney Vacation Club is, what they want you to have, and we've talked about this, they want you to feel FOMO, like really, really, really bad, right? They want you to be able to sit down when they talk about this club and throw everything under the sun about how you could use your DVC points, right? So that's where they're going to talk about, we just announced river cruises that you could use your DVC points. And have you ever wanted to stay at the Marvel Hotel, maybe in Paris? Well, you can with your Disney Vacation Club points when you buy direct from Disney. So look at all these amazing things. They don't sit down and go, all right, so we're looking at 150 points. You can't do anything that I just talked about with those points. So you can't even look at the river cruise, but it's all about, I want to throw every available option on how you could use your points because I want you to buy direct from Disney. But like Paul said, that's where if you just take your time and just do your research and realize that, wait a second, I can do a lot of these cruises, and do it through the cruise swap program and use 40 to 50% less points and be on the exact same boat with members that have used double the amount of points that you did. So it's all about, you might get excited, but just take your time, do your research. And if it works out best for you and your family to spend $500 a night to stay in Iron Man's Parisian room, then you know what? That works out great. But
check under the bed. Check under the bed.
Check under the bed. And I would argue too, because that one we talked about it in our chat, but that one 2-night, what is it? Experience Paris or Paris?
Oh yeah, the add-on to the river cruise.
That was like, how much was it? It was an insane amount of money.
I wish I could remember. It was a couple thousand.
2 days, it was like $2,500 or something like that. I just did a search for the very hotel that I stayed at. Now, it's not a Disney hotel, so there is that FOMO that Derek is talking about. But I'm here to tell you, Paris is a wonderful city with a lot to see. You shouldn't spend a week at Disney if you're going to go to Europe. There's a lot of other really interesting things to see. We went for 1 day, and that was plenty. But regardless, I just happened to check our very hotel in September. You can do 10 days with flights for $3,700. So for $1,700 more for a 2-night stay at the Disneyland thing, you can go and see everything that Paris has to offer. Like, come on. They're not only going after the FOMO, but they're tugging at that emotional string too, because if they get you to Paris at the Disneyland property, they're not taking you to the Eiffel Tower. They're not taking you to Notre Dame. They're not taking you to the catacombs, the Louvre, any of those places. They want you just like they want you here.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a great big beautiful world out there to see that is outside of Disney for way less money.
I'm pretty sure it was $27.99 for the Paris add-on, but I think, is that per person?
I think that's per person,
because it says adult and
which
child.
Is insanity.
Yeah, because there's
$3,700.
So like
for
6,000. Yeah,
with flights.
I had a listener actually reach out to us recently as a follow-up to the story that we did, kind of comparing DVC to your traditional timeshare. And shout out to Johnny. I've talked to him multiple times. But along this topic, this is what I fear for Disney Vacation Club is Johnny told me the story about his aunt who actually went to another timeshare presentation. And originally it was buying points at this certain resort. But then it was, well, what if you would maybe want to use your points to do this or that? Do you want to make sure you have enough points to do that? Or what if we can make sure that there's enough points so you can exchange them for flights and rental cars and all of this? And a 2,000 point package turned into a 12,000 point package. She didn't know what she was buying. She ended up buying it. She then had to get a timeshare, get out of your timeshare company to get involved, which those companies are just a scam because they just want to take your money and run away in the other direction. And what what hurts me inside is that you hear these things, you hear these adventures where basically they're trying to get a large amount of points back from someone, and they tug on the heartstrings, like you said, Jeff, because these are adventures that are once in a lifetime bucket list trips that you want to take. But they cost so many points, and they're such a bad use of your points. And it's like, when do we just become a timeshare? Like, when does DVC just, become, it is a timeshare, but when does it fully become a timeshare? Like, when do we get there? Like, I've also I had another listener reach out to me last week talking about just kind of some sales tactics out in California that actually some Disney Vacation Club guides used that were not kind of on par with what we normally expect from a direct DVC guide. Some more aggressive tactics and things like that. And it's just, these are the things that for this product you hate to hear about, because it is such a great product and it has been for so many years. And I will go back to Panda, what you said a while ago, which is that I think that we are looking at short-term profits and we don't care about the damage that it does for the future. It matters about, do we hit this bonus milestone? Do we hit our numbers that we're expected to get? Do we hit budget? All of those things. They look at it from quarter to quarter, year to year, and what they are doing now, they don't necessarily care how much that affects the future product.
Well, and a couple things just to tie that up really fast. First of all, there is a ceiling. People do eventually break, and if you remember, it cost Michael Eisner his job back in late 2000s or late 90s, early 2000s. I was honored to have a letter that I wrote to Roy Disney at the time, featured on their savedisney.com website that they launched, that they basically ousted Eisner out and stopped the direction of the company to try and change it. And they did for a minute, but now we're back light years even further because of that. But there is a point. People will say enough is enough at some point, I think. The other thing, too, about what you were just saying, Paul, about Disney and their profits and some of those kinds of things, I just don't understand why they have these extravagant point exchange rates when basic economics tells you if you want points to re-rent at the high up charge that you're doing it, that Disney is doing it at, they clearly have no problem getting people to buy these cash rooms, or they wouldn't do it, right? If they really want more points to be able to do that, make that barrier to entry less for people. Lower those exchange rates. Get people on these cruises, because we know what the cruise costs. We in this group know what the cruise costs. We know, we've done all of the research. Make it half of what it costs. More people are going to do it. They're going to have all the points they want. And it kind of is a win-win for everybody. But I don't get why the people in those rooms aren't saying, we've got to charge these extravagant point charts because we've got to make it worth our while. I don't know. It's just kind of like quantity versus quality. Why not just make it more for everybody else?
That's because someone said, we listened to our guests and what our guests told us.
Well, I will bring us out of the depths of this discussion and just kind of bring us home with what I call a little bit of a happy note, which is the 2026 DVC Member Cruise was released. Now, don't use your points for this. I don't advise you to do that. But it is a bucket list adventure that I think Amy and I are casually thinking about maybe going on, because
that's gonna also be dependent on price.
It's the thing we keep coming back to this show, price. But it is the 2026 Member Cruise departs August 31st, 2026 out of Southampton, England, and the cruise will take you to Denmark and one stop in Norway to see the beautiful fjords in Norway. And if you're familiar with member cruises, so the official member cruise, there is one per year, and that member cruise has special member-related events, some special kind of swag that you can come away with. It is usually traditionally more expensive than a regular cruise, or like if you were to book this same type of sailing through Disney Cruise Line. a different time of the year or on a different sale date, then those typically are a little bit cheaper because this is more of an exclusive DVC member cruise. They charter the whole boat, and the sale date for these, I believe, is March 22nd. And so if you're interested in this, we've got information over on dvcfan.com. As Amy and I said, we're waiting for prices.
I just want to clarify that is the on sale date, not to be confused with SAIL.
Not
the ship sails next year in August.
But yeah, Amy really wants to maybe go on that.
I do, but like, not to circle back around to the conversation, but I looked at some of the DCL prices for those types of itineraries, and we're talking like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 for two people. Whereas I've been looking at Celebrity for the same date range for a full, Norwegian Fjords cruise. It also stops in Belgium and leaves out Southampton as well. And we can get like one of the nicer balcony rooms on the back of the ship for $4,300 for both of us. So, am I going to pay double for the DVC cruise? Am I going to do that? You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at.
Nope.
There's no churro waffles on Celebrity. That's the check.
No, that's better for my waistline.
Well, there you have it, folks. We're sorry that we kind of got a little bit negative in this show. That wasn't kind of the direction we were going, but I think it just kind of is the sentiments that we hear you in our community talking about a lot right now. This price battle, the fact that, price is increasing, and everyone kind of comments on that article and says, I can't believe prices are going up again. And it's kind of just where the general community's at. And I think we resonate with that. And we've all kind of agreed with a lot of the things we've heard you guys say within the community as well. But that's going to do it for kind of our news wrap up here, probably for, the first quarter of the year. There hasn't been too much Disney Vacation Club news, but we hope to hear some more maybe on Lake Shore Lodge coming in the near future, because that thing is skyrocketing vertical very quickly. But that's going to do it for this week's episode. If you do like this show, please hit that thumbs up button, like and subscribe to our DVC Fan YouTube channel. And for some fun behind the scenes content, head to patreon.com/DVC Fan. We will see you next Monday.
See you at Summerfest.